I want to say something, and I'm putting my intentions behind this message getting to the right people. Um, when I was growing up, I didn't necessarily grow up in a super religious family. I didn't. Not when I was younger. Um, I was brought up Catholic because my grandparents were Catholic on my mother's side. And so my mother sent us to a Catholic school and we went to mass on Sundays and things like that. I went and did my first communion when I was 7. I did my confirmation when I was 15. So that's how we was raised. Now, I don't remember ever it was like the super energy of anything. I don't remember there being conversations about spirituality, or even religion to that extent. I remember my grandmother doing saying her rosary, but I don't remember it being a lot of hype talk about religion and Jesus and things like that. I just don't remember that. I remember getting to a certain age. I think I was in my late teens, maybe early 20s, when my mother started separating from the church and she started saying and speaking about things that didn't make sense to her, right? That was her coming into her own enlightenment. Now, I think back now as I'm saying that, I'm sure that's what that was. And so she started disconnecting from the church and we stopped going to mass on a consistent basis or whatever. My mom was paving her. Oh, wow. Okay. So she had this major revelation. Stop going to church. At that time, there wasn't a lot of times we went to church, it was my mom and the children. I don't remember my father going to church a lot. I don't remember him going to church a whole lot with us. Um, and I definitely don't remember him going with the energy of being passionate about going, because anything that you participate in, I mean, you need to be passionate about it. It was just like, how we do a lot of things out of obligation. So fast forward, I was already out of my parents' home. I was living with my grandmother, and she never put pressure on me about going to church. She never berated it. She never pushed. She never forced. My grandmother wasn't. She had her way. Don't get me wrong. She definitely had her way. She definitely had a way of putting out there her beliefs and giving them to you because she believed in them so well, but it wasn't a forceful way. I hope that makes sense. So at that time, when I was living over there, my father got back into the church, I guess, that he was raised in, and he started going by himself. Fast forward, he started taking my sister, my younger sister. Ooh, excuse me. Child. My younger sister and my daughter. Kima was about 5 or 6-ish at the time. And he started going to church with them. And that is in where I feel like began a pattern, right? Of him, because there are, what do they call it, hyper Christians who really truly believe in what they believe, and that's it, right? And a lot of beliefs, I just want to say this as a side note, a lot of beliefs do not come with rhyme or reason or logic or intuitive energy towards it. It's just what it is. Like, there's the beliefs are so strong it was passed on from this person to that person, and bam. So slowly but surely, my father's intentions was to get everybody to go to church slowly but surely. So like my sister and my daughter was already going with him because my daughter used to be over there a lot. I was younger and I used to go out, and sometimes it wasn't even about me going out. It's just that Kima ended up being over there. You know how it is. You be over your grandparents' house. I was over my grandparents' house a whole lot as a child, and I loved it there. So slowly but sure, we all started going to church. The only person who didn't really go to church was one of my brothers. Both of my brothers are younger than me, but the brother that's 4 years younger, what is he? No, I'm sorry, he's 6 years younger than me. He was the only one who didn't go to church like that, barely, like for real, barely. And I don't know about them, but for me, I was going out of this is, you should go to church, like go to church type of thing. It wasn't like any desire like that for me to go to church because I didn't connect to it. And I've talked about that before, like as far as feeling like this innate connection to going to that church. I've been to other churches at one time or another where I felt that the Holy Spirit could have been there, but at this particular church, absolutely not. And the my husband at the time, my children's father, he was completely against it. Like he used to say little stuff, and because he was a Pisces, so Pisces are super intuitive and they get things, and they might not always have the best way of communicating what they're feeling, but yeah. But it's not my disconnection from spirit, myself, my intuition had a lot to do with my family's influence over me and their beliefs and that doctrine that they solidified and stuck with into this day are with now still. So I went to church for some years, and then all of a sudden we stopped going. Like me and my children and their dad, we just boom, we stopped going. We was in our own spot by that time, and we just stopped going because to me it was just, but I made it clear to my child, to Kima, because Kima was still going to church with another family member off and on, and I wanted her to know that I didn't want her to take on my beliefs just because they were my beliefs. I wanted her to do things in alignment with how she was and how she directed her life and everything, like, you know what I'm saying? And she was a young teenager. Well, she was about 14 at the time, I think, when I told her that, 15 maybe. And I say all that to say, just to give you guys a background on the real reason I'm making this video. Excuse me, because the real reason, because I saw something, a person that I am fond of to an extent, and I watched their videos, and they were saying some things about tarot and spirituality and talking about another person they were dealing with and things like that. And this is the thing. I get that a lot of people don't have understanding of certain aspects of most aspects of spirituality because I didn't. When I started off doing tarot, what was this, 4 years ago? No one necessarily talked about. I was giving some background to my family dynamic as far as religion and things like that, but as far as me growing up and hearing a lot of talk, there was never talk about spirituality. There was never talk about tarot. There was never talk about hoodoo. Now I do remember my mother saying quite often because it was a certain dynamic between her and my grandmother, because my grandmother was from Louisiana. She was from Laplace, and my grandfather was from New Orleans. And my mother would make inference or reference to my grandmother believing in voodoo. And she would say it in a way where, that's the only thing I can't remember. I can't think of nothing else that was in correspondence of spirituality and talk, like, if that makes sense. I don't remember nothing else. But in this video, I realized, and I got a pinch bit triggered because I like I said, I'm fond of this person, and this person comes off, or was kind of came off to me as a person of being open. You know how some people are just open to knowledge, like a lot of us are. So I was just kind of like thrown off when she started talking in a negative way when it came to spirituality and tarot. And this is the thing, you guys. If you are not taught something from the very beginning of your foundation, from the time you are young and taught and reared and raised, then you're going to have a very distorted view about that subject. You're not going to have all the clear pieces. And then top it in with other sources or other communication or other opinions from people about said thing, you really going to be thrown off because you have to learn and understand things authentically. You get what I'm saying? You have to do it from ground zero. So the reason I'm talking about all of this stuff with my family, how I was raised in church, is because I wasn't given the foundation of spirituality, of understanding certain aspects of healing, deep healing, the type of healing, ancestral healing that I'm doing for myself, doing tarot, believing in hoodoo. I've practiced, done of quite a few things with hoodoo. believing in voodoo and believing and accepting that everybody has their own specific path and journey, and you have free will to practice and do whatever the hell you want. Now, there's a way to know. I feel I'm the type of person that feels like I want to have all the pieces. It's probably the tourist in me. I want to have all the pieces of the puzzle together before I make a decision or do an action. I don't want to do something half-assed. I don't want to like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then I don't have all the puzzles. So it's imperative that you understand and learn about something before you completely, you know what I'm saying? But like, oh, that's not for me. Hell no, that ain't for me. You know what I'm saying? And that can go for different aspects of your life. That doesn't just go for spirituality. That goes for a broad number of things in your life. It's important to expand your mind because that's where intelligence aligns with you. When you are open to learning and gaining knowledge within things that you are not privy to just on some regular stuff. Basically, the way you were raised, your people that was around you, to give you tools because they weren't given the tools of certain things. Manifesting. A lot of people manifest and feel like that's some type of black magic or whatever, but you've been doing it all your life. What are you doing when you're praying? What are you doing when you're hoping? What are you doing when you're wishing? What are you doing when you say, I'm just going to trust and have faith? That's a form of manifestation. Those are energies that go into manifesting what you're trying to believe. It's a lot of things that people participate in that can be considered black magic or witchcraft, but because they're not completely open to the knowledge of what they're doing, they're just anything outside of the norm or the comfort zone of them, they get triggered with it. They get triggered with it. And that's a lot of people. I don't know, outside of melanated people, African American people, do other races and cultures and ethnicities get into this? I'm not sure because I'm only what I am, but I'm pretty sure it is. But yeah, it's important to learn, school yourself, learn. If you don't know something, don't wipe it off or even speak about it in a way that is condemning it or being in a, because it is judgment and you being judgmental. A lot of people don't want to be judged, but they do a lot of judging themselves, and that's that's a contradiction. So you really want to be aware of what you're saying and how you're projecting your energies and your beliefs and your fears, because a lot of people are scared of the unknown. They're scared of black magic. They're scared of witchcraft. They're scared of voodoo. They're scared of witchery. They're scared of the moon. They're scared of black crows. They're scared of black cats. I'm not laughing because people really be scared of black cats and y'all don't even know. I've talked about black cats on videos before. Black cats and black crows don't mean no harm. They are only transmitters of information. That's it. They ain't here to come kill what you what. If somebody's gonna die and you see the black crow and that's an indication that somebody is transitioning on the other side, that's gonna happen regardless. If you don't want to see the crow, you don't want to see the crow, but it's not like an omen of bad stuff that's going to happen to you. Everything is divinely done in the way it's going to be done. Do you get what I'm saying? Everything, things are going to happen the way I just told my son. It's no point of fearing death because you're going to die anyways. There's already a date set for when you're going to go. So what you do is you live the best that you can live here, so you'll be ready to go on the other side and still be in the fear, because fear is not going to get you in the energy of being ready to go on the other side any damn way. How is that going to work? Fear of anything is not healthy and is not in alignment with your highest good. That's why most people are not walking this earth and existing here, being in their highest good, because they operate in fear. They operate in judgment. They operate in lower vibrational energies. They constantly eating things that's not in alignment for them. Their cells, their bodies, their minds, their intuition is telling them, don't eat that. Surrender to this. Stop fucking this person. Stop doing this. Stop doing this. And they continue to do it. And they be in that low frequency. So they're not open and expanding to learn and understand the things that they need to learn and understand about life. Life is so huge and it's so vast and it's so massive out here, but people limit themselves by only being open to certain things. People who are religious, people who go to church, people who work, people who only want to date within their race, people who only want to raise their children by going to school, people who only want to eat dairy, people who only want to eat meat. But real talk, be open, people. Nara. I love y'all.